What's up, my wizards? It's Deb from Mtg down there on the YouTube.com, and it's been a whole weekend with no spoilers. What are you gonna do? I actually took that time to do a little bit of brewing and a lot of Persona 5 playing, but we finally get back to some spoilers this Monday morning. We saw 10 more new cards from Amonkhet today, and we didn't see anything like outright crazy, but we did get to see like another Aftermath card. We got to see the White God. That's pretty cool. We got to see some like just cool cards instead of just really overpowered stuff, which is what I think the majority of players have been asking for. So let's go ahead and tear into these. Well, one of my favorite cards on the day is Pull from Tomorrow. This is 2 blue and X. So blue, X. For an instant, that's important. Draw X cards, then discard a card. It's instant speed. I've already pointed out that that's important, but I just want to say it again. It's really awesome that this thing is instant speed. You can do it at the end of your opponent's turn. That's amazing. So, like, really late in the game, you can get a few cards out of this, and yeah, you got to pitch a card to it, but whatever. You know, we're in a format where, like, delirium matters, madness matters, putting cards in your graveyard for whatever reason matters. You might be playing some kind of reanimation strategy for all I know. Sometimes you want to put a card in the yard. It's not really that bad. And we've got plenty of things in this format already, coming up at least, in Amonkhet, that say, like, whenever you cycle or discard a card, do a thing. So this card gets even more play because of that. The only real problem I see with it is that, like, Glimmer of Genius might be better. I'm totally serious. You know, this doesn't get better than Glimmer until like 6 mana in, which is kind of a problem. And Glimmer gives you energy, and Glimmer is recastable with Torrential Gearhulk. Like, yeah, you can recast this, but you can't put XLV 0 if you recast this with Hulk. So there's no reason to. So considering Torrential Gearhulk is probably going to remain the control finisher in standard for as long as it's available to play, you know, I think Glimmer is probably the better card, but you might play a one of this. And I do like that Draw Go is seeing more pieces in this set from what we can tell so far. So looking like we might be able to put together a pretty good control deck, and this might be a one of in it. Kind of excited about it. We'll see how well it actually plays, but whether or not it sees play in standard, it's probably a commander staple already. While we're talking about fun commander cards, here's Neheb the Worthy. Right here, he's 3 mana, 1 a black and a red for a 2/2 legendary Minotaur warrior with first strike. Other Minotaurs you control have first strike, and as long as you have 1 or fewer cards in hand, Minotaurs you control get +2/+0. Whenever Neheb the Worthy deals combat damage to a player, each player discards a card. I like this new, like, pseudo Hellbent that we're seeing on, like, this and Hazaret the Red God. I've seen people calling it Heckbent. I think it's just the cutest thing ever. So that's what I'm going to call it. As long as you have Heckbent, this thing is actually a 3 mana 4/2 first strike, which isn't the worst thing ever. And it also gives like any incidental Minotaurs you might have in sealed first strike as well. In your commander deck, they'll give a bunch of Minotaurs first strike. So that's pretty cool. He also sort of fuels Heckbent. I love saying that. He sort of fuels Heckbent because whenever he gets through for combat damage, everyone discards a card, including you. So you can madness something. You can put something in there for delirium or reanimation, whatever you want to do, you know. And all your opponents have to do the same, which can be pretty good. You know, even if you've only got 1 other Minotaur out, this guy's not bad. You know, 3 mana 4/2 first strike that gave something else first strike and 2 extra power. Like, you know, I might take that, but we'll have to see some really good Minotaurs. You know, we've already seen a Minotaur or 2. I'm just not sure they're, like, good enough, right? 2-drop Minotaur. Are there, like, no 2-drop Minotaurs? I don't think there are. That's what we need. Here's Reduce to Rubble right here. It's an Aftermath card. The Reduce half costs 3 mana. That's 2 and a blue for an instant. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. The Rubble half you'll cast out of your graveyard, of course. That also costs 3 mana, 2 and a red. Up to 3 target lands don't untap during their controller's next untap step. You know, I want to like this card. Like, there's something that I like about its jib. I enjoy the cut of its jib, but I'm just not really sure that it's quite good. Like, it's either a bad mana leak or a bad convolute stapled onto, like, a kind of bad land destruction spell. Although, this can tap 3 important lands down and basically time walk them for a turn. As something that sits in your graveyard and makes your opponent nervous, I think this might be okay. But overall, even though it's got some utility, it's got some versatility, all these Aftermath cards do. Like, the more I think about Aftermath, the more I like Aftermath, because it's basically card advantage. You know, it's playing a card that gives you another card to play whenever you want to. That's card advantage, so that's, like, pretty darn good, but I'm not sure at the end of the day this sees any play. It's just pretty expensive. Here's Unburden right here. This is 3 mana, 1 a black and a black for a sorcery. Target player discards 2 cards, and you can cycle it for 2. Now, I like this idea of sort of updating older cards in the set by giving them cycling, maybe making them a little harder to cast and stuff. You know, we see that here with Unburden vis-a-vis Mind Rot, which I think is kind of cool. I think this might actually be just like straight up better than Mind Rot, even though it's harder to cast. Just cycling makes everything way better, which is sort of a theme of this set. Cycling makes stuff better. So, I'm not sure Unburden sees any play at the end of the day, but at the same time, like, we may see a deck that's sort of fluctuator-like, you know, or uses new perspectives in some kind of weird way. Or maybe Drake Haven. We'll see. But that deck will probably try and take advantage of all the cycling cards that it possibly can. So you really can't count out anything with cycling from seeing play in this format, especially stuff that, like, you could cast it and it's okay, which this definitely is. Speaking of, by the way, this right here is Censor, a little translation. It's 2 mana, 1 and a blue for an instant, counter target spell unless your opponent pays 1, but you can cycle it for just a blue mana. Okay, so I think I actually like this better than Revolutionary Rebuff. It can hit artifacts, that's good right there. And even though it's not 2, it's just the 1, I'm okay with that. Like, 2 mana 4 spike doesn't sound too great, but when you can cycle it for just a blue, that's fine. It's just a blue cantrip, you know, it's a 1 mana draw card that will sometimes trip them up in the early game, which I think is actually fantastic. Like, Miscalculation saw a good amount of play way back in the day. I'm an old timer, and Miscalculation is probably a straight up better card than this, but I still would not count this out, you know. In a deck that wants to cycle everything, it's just a blue to cycle. In a control deck, it's just a blue to draw a card at instant speed. That's fine too, once it's outlived any usefulness. And in the early game, this is just a straight up hard counter for the first like 3 turns. So yeah, this could definitely see play. Speaking of, we'll probably definitely see play, here's Never to Return, and hear me out, I know that probably got a chorus of boos, but Never to Return, the Never half is basically Ruinous Path. It's 3 mana, 1, a black and a black for a sorcery, destroy target creature or planeswalker. The return half is 4 mana, that's 3 and a black for a sorcery, exile target card from a graveyard and create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Well, honestly, I think this is just like straight up better than Ruinous Path. You know, like, it also creates a creature just like Path does, but it allows you to split it up among multiple turns. That's kind of really important. And people are sort of overlooking that this exiles a card from a graveyard, which, yeah, can sometimes work against Scrap Heap, can work against Embalm in this format, can work against Delirium. Target, you know, the thing they have 1 permanent type, like target the land in their graveyard or something, you know. So this does a few different things in the format right now, you know. So I think that that's cool. Don't discount the fact that it's graveyard hate too. So this card does 4 different things. It kills a planeswalker, kills a creature, you know, or disrupts graveyard strategies, and creates either a blocker or an attacker for you. It's a zombie, so it can get buffs from stuff, you know. Like, this actually doesn't seem awful. And, like, there's history revisionists out there that are saying, like, Ruinous Path never saw any play. You're crazy. Ruinous Path saw play. Like, Ruinous Path totally saw play, and will still occasionally pop up as a one-of in, like, green-black decks that actually make, you know, the top 32 or something. Like, Ruinous Path did and does even to this day see some amount of play, and I think this is just straight up better, to be honest with you. You know, if you want a creature, you don't have to pay 7 mana right now. You still have to pay 7, but splitting it up among multiple turns is exactly what a control deck wants. It gives us a main deck way of dealing with stuff out of their graveyard. That's important too, you know. So really am kind of a fan, and I'm not saying we'll play 4 of it, but we may end up playing 1 or 2 of it. I know sorcery speed's awful. Everyone, myself included, wanted Hero's Downfall. We know. We totally know. Sorcery speed is terrible. It's the worst thing in the entire world. But still, the card does 4 distinct things and could totally see some amount of play. Definitely. Check out Honored Hydra right here. This is 6 mana, 5 and a green for a Snake Hydra. That's cool. It's a 6/6 with Trample. And you can embalm it, here's the cool part, for just 4 mana, 3 and a green. Now, if you can pitch this into your yard, it's honestly not that bad. It's really not terrible. 4 mana for 6/6 Trample, like, yeah, well, I'll take that. Seems like a pretty straight deal. And honestly, even if you, like, have to wait to play it one time in, like, your Bant Tokens deck, we talked about that the other day, actually, and we'll talk about it a little bit more here. Even if you have to wait until turn 6 to play it, that's fine. If they kill it, all you have to do is spend 4 mana, you get it right back. Seems okay to have a 6/6 Trampler twice. It's alright. But even if you just pitch this into your yard somehow and then get it back for 4 mana, that's a heck of a deal. It's not bad at all. And as far as Bant tokens goes, by the way, this is a super cute combo with Timid. You got Timid out, suddenly you have a 7/7 unblockable guy. That seems okay too. So I'm not saying that that's the best strategy in the world, but I'm at least going to try Bant tokens. It seems like a lot of fun, and honestly, this guy just looks like a stupid bulk rare, and he probably is, which is totally fine because we're going to play him in a budget deck. Definitely. Check out Liliana's expertise right here, but it's not an expertise like you're thinking. It's 5 mana, 3 and 2 black for an enchantment. You get 2/2/2 zombie creature tokens, and zombies you control get +1/+1. Okay, so neat, right? I mean, you get 5 mana, gets you 2 3-power guys, so 6 power for 5 mana on 2 dudes. Not the worst deal ever, and if you just happen to have a couple of zombies, well, it's an Anthem effect for like another 1 or 2 of your guys, Like, I'm not seeing this see like all the standard play in the world, especially considering like the 5 mana Liliana, you don't want to play both of them in the same deck. Maybe you want to play like one of this and a couple of Lilianas or something, but I don't think it's like the most competitive card in the world, but it can at least go like in the top of the curve of that blue-black like budget zombies deck in standard. Pump all of your zombos. That seems cool, you get a couple of zombies too for fodder, for whatever you want to do, like Kalitas, maybe you sack them to Kalitas, whatever you want to do. This seems like there's a lot of play on the card, seems cool, and it seems great. In Commander, in any zombie-themed deck, you probably want another Anthem effect, and you want it to come with a couple of zombies stapled on. So I'm a big fan of this card, and even though it's not an quote-unquote expertise, it still kind of is. Like, you kind of play a spell, and then you get another spell on top of it. You get a spell that gives you an Anthem, then you get a spell that gives you a couple zombies, which goes with the Anthem. So that's, I don't know, it's kind of cool. You still get 2 effects at the very least. So I see what you did there, Wizards. Is all I'm saying. But again, I don't think the card is the most powerful thing in the world, and I don't think it's going to change standard or whatever, but I do think it's a cool card, and I do think it'll see playing Commander, and we're at least going to try to budgetize it in some standard decks. Here's Vizier of the Menagerie right here. I like that name, and this is Wedge's spoiler from the Mana Source this year. This is 4 mana, 3 and a green for a 3/4 Naga Cleric, and you may look at the top card of your library. You can do that anytime you want to, the reminder text says. You may cast the top card of your library if it's a creature card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast those creature spells. Okay, so this is card advantage that also fixes your mana and doesn't give the information away to your opponent like other cards like this might. So there's a lot of cool stuff about this, but at 4 mana, I don't think he's going to see a lot of standard play, like us YouTubers, like our preview cards usually don't see all the standard play, and I don't think this one's going to be any different, although it is super exciting. Even though it's probably not going to be like the next big thing or anything, it's still really, really cool, especially, again, I'll say this one more time, if you play Commander. Today may actually be Commander Day, but still, like, this whole set is A+ for Commander. I don't know if you guys have noticed, there's a lot of cool Commander stuff going on, including this, being able to not give information away to any of the other 3 to 7 players sitting at the table right now is pretty cool. Card advantage is always a must in Commander. That's awesome. And in any Commander deck, even a 5-color one, this works. So you spend mana of whatever color. Fixes all your mana to play creatures. That's just, all of that is so good in Commander. And a lot of people have already pointed out that this goes really well with like Courser of Crufix. And they're on curve, Courser into this is a pretty sweet play, Now you can play the top card of your library no matter what it is. So that's pretty cool right there. So I think this card is awesome. Really, really awesome. Even if it's not pushed for like ultra competitive play, I think this is one of the like most fun cards in the set, and I actually think that it's one of the best cards in the set just from a pure design perspective. Card's really, really cool looking, does stuff that all players like, will see some Commander play. So as far as the design of the card, top marks. And here's the last card of the day, so far at least. This is the White God, Oketra the True. 4 mana, 3 and a white, for a 3/6 legendary god with double strike and indestructible. Oketra the True cannot attack or block unless you control at least 3 other creatures. You can also pay 3 and a white to create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance. Okay, depending on who you talk to, this is either the best or worst god spoiled so far. People really cannot seem to agree on that. It doesn't have any form of evasion, but neither does Hazoret, although haste does kind of help, but the abilities it does have are ridiculous. Of course, it has indestructible like the other gods, but it also has double strike, So you're essentially looking at a 4-mana 6/6 in a way. That's pretty cool. And it can spit out creatures too, which obviously helps itself. All the other gods have abilities that help themselves in some form or fashion. And this one's no different, you know, and being able to spit out creatures is really nice. And 4 mana is a lot. I think that's the #1 complaint I've seen so far about the card, is that 4 mana to spit out creatures is a lot. This is the Heliod of this set. First of all, it's the white god. So yeah, it probably is kind of the Heliod of this set. And we compared the red god to Purphoros anyway. Why not compare the white god to Heliod, right? I actually think this is better than Heliod, if I do say so myself. First of all, doesn't spit out 2/1s like Heliod did, but it does spit out creatures with vigilance, which is pretty sweet. And this will, you know, spitting out creatures will allow her to start attacking and blocking, which is super dope. 3/6 indestructible double strike is not anything to sneeze at, especially one that poops little guys with vigilance. So, like, the card is good. Just in a vacuum, the card looks good to me. And, like, one fun thing that's not going to see constructed play, I promise you, but is really cool looking, that I've seen a couple of people point out, is this in Odric. This in Odric looks really, really cool, actually. Because not only do all your creatures with Odric now get double strike and indestructible when they swing in, probably, like, 2 of the most desirable abilities, but if you just like make one guy, all your guys will also have vigilance when they swing in too. So you're looking at 3 different Odric abilities, 2 of them extremely good on one card. And Odric is a deck that plays a bunch of creatures already, so you can easily activate Oketra and start swinging and blocking with her too. So that looks like a lot of fun. Probably won't be competitive or anything, but does look like all the fun you could ever have in a game of Magic. That's all the spoilers so far from today. I got to edit this up and then play some more Persona 5 because I am hopelessly addicted. Let me know how you felt about all these. How do you rank the gods so far? We've seen a grand total of 3 out of 5, so let me know, in order, how do you rank the gods so far? I'm not really sure. It might be like blue, and then I'm cheating in my own poll here, but it might be blue and then red and white tied. But I might go white and then red. Probably. So like blue, white, red, maybe. So let me know how you ranked them and how you felt about all these cards here today. Do you think that that new Ruinous Path is any good at all, or do you think it's garbage? Let me know about that. Lots of stuff actually to talk about, and more spoilers as the week goes on. So make sure you sub and hit the bell to get the notifications, because we've got a lot of spoilers to go. And Friday, if past spoiler seasons are any indication, Friday, the entire set will be spoiled. So get ready for that. That's coming soon. And also, Wedge got his preview card just recently. I'm getting mine real soon. I've already got it. I know what it is. But you guys don't, and you won't until April the 13th. That's when I'm putting my spoiler video out. So if you're still with us, mark your calendars for that date. I'll be showing you my preview card then. But if you enjoyed this content, like the content, hit the thumbs up, sub, hit notifications, follow me on Twitter, SBMTGDev, and share this content both on this platform and that platform. All of the YouTube stuff, business, spiel, and I'll see you guys later. I'm Dev from SBMTG. Thanks for watching, my wizards.